Let's be real. Even if you've managed to get Oscar winners to don tights and trade quips with space raccoons, you're bound to drop the ball every once in a while. Try not to cringe too hard as we dive headfirst into the MCU's worst casting decisions ever. Thor: The Dark World is one of the most forgotten entries of the MCU. Sure, it set up another Infinity Stone, it gave Jane Foster and the gang something to do, and brought Loki back, after, of course, seemingly killing him off earlier in the same flick. But that's about it. It's just kind of there. A huge part of Dark World's failure to resonate was Eccleston's limp portrayal of Malekith. Malekith, a dark elf currently at the center of Marvel's War of the Realms comic event, is a malevolent trickster with a taste for wicked turnabouts and gleeful cruelty. Eccleston's embodiment reflects exactly, none of this.
Darkness returns, Asgardian. Have you come to witness the end of your universe?
His aims are vague. Something, return the universe to darkness, yada yada, the rightful destiny of the Dark Elves. Standard villain gobbledygook. And his personality is no better defined. If you remember anything, it's his round-eyed mask and elaborately braided hair. And having your performance overshadowed by the costuming department is never what an actor should aim for. It's hard to waste a smooth, icy Mads Mikkelsen as a villain. From Casino Royale to Hannibal, he's spent most of his career sending chills down audiences' spines. And when the story around him is well told and acted, that makes it a doubly impressive feat to somehow bungle his character. Solid writers, story, colleagues, and costuming, plus the dude who played Le Chiffre as the villain? How could that possibly go wrong? Doctor Strange showed us how, despite the fact that it's a dizzyingly shot, snappily written origin story, and despite how brilliant Benedict Wong and Benedict Cumberbatch are in their principal roles, Mikkelsen's Kaecilius, the magic user who serves the fiendish Dormammu, is utterly forgettable. Like Malekith, the most memorable thing about his character is the makeup wizardry performed upon him to make it look as though his skin is flaking away beneath his eyes. Beyond that, there are a few cool tricks he does with his magic blades, maybe a quip or two that landed okay. He is totally wasted in the role and entirely overshadowed by the rest of the largely enjoyable movie. At least he's got the rest of his filmography to fall back on. Mickey Rourke is definitely not forgettable as Ivan Vanko. He gobbles up scenery with a spoon, letting the light catch in his gold teeth whenever he can, brandishing his Russian accent like a saber at every scene partner.
Hey man, don't get too attached to things. Learn to let go.
Many entries on this list are here because they are cinematic non-entities, entirely swallowed up in the shadows of other actors, special effects, and the ever-growing tower of MCU world building. That ain't the case here. Iron Man 2 is widely considered one of the lesser Marvel movies, but if you remember anything about it, you remember Ivan Vanko. But honestly, is that really a good thing? Rourke is a bit too present in the role. As an actor, he never disappears into the character. It's almost entertaining on its own to watch Rourke put so much energy into Vanko, but ultimately it distracts from everything around it. Years after the fact, you don't recall the family debts the character was trying to repay. You remember the accent, the teeth, the bird, the whips. You remember everything around the character, but not the character himself. And in movie terms, that's an unforgivable flaw. Quick, remember everything you can about Christine Palmer. If that name doesn't ring a bell, and it probably doesn't, just replace it with Doctor Strange's girlfriend. Okay, you might reply, she was a doctor too, and there's that one scene they have in a closet together in the hospital, and you're pretty sure you remember the actors from that Notebook movie. If you did any better than that, you should be commended. Christine Palmer is effectively a girlfriend-shaped prop. But that isn't exactly unique. There are a lot of forgettable girlfriend-X roles that talented actresses make the best of. But some of them, see Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter or Zoe Saldana's Gamora, manage to break out and become something more. McAdams' Christine Palmer just kind of stands around. Like Kaecilius, the general psychedelia of the movie surrounding her serves to overshadow her completely, and really that isn't entirely a bad thing. It's a pretty incredible spectacle after all. Still, we get the feeling that even the Time Stone wouldn't be able to bring McAdams' unmemorable performance back from the dead.
Some things just can't be fixed.
If there was ever a moment Iron Fist seemed like a good idea, no one remembers it. Now that it's been officially canceled, the cultural autopsy can be performed. And by far, the biggest problem is Finn Jones' weak performance. Danny Rand is, let's face it, reality-shatteringly annoying, and he never quite stops being so. He's a young billionaire searching for himself, and yet somehow he's even more irritating than that description implies. His quest for identity makes him seem too often like a brat at worst, a boring also-ran of a hero's journey protagonist at best. When you're not rolling your eyes at him, you're yawning. And when it comes to TV, a yawn is arguably worse than a cringe. When someone mentions Quicksilver, your mind probably jumps to Evan Peters' zippy, sarcastic portrayal in the X-Men movies. Watching him turn moments of terror into high-speed slapstick performance is an absolute delight, something between a ballet and a Marx Brothers spoof. He's a bright spot in an increasingly dark franchise that no one anticipated. A total joy and surprise. Oh, then there's this dude.
You didn't see that coming?
You might remember him from Avengers: Age of Ultron. On the other hand, you might not remember him at all. It's not actor Aaron Taylor Johnson's fault, really. He couldn't have known he'd end up compared to Evan Peters' unexpectedly brilliant take on the character. But the fact is that his portrayal of Pietro Maximoff is, well, unremarkable. He has the right moves, of course, and his tragic death is, well, tragic, but there's a reason Wanda, his sister, who has remained a part of the MCU, never seems to bring him up. No one cares. Taylor Johnson did his job and nothing more. He ran, he quipped, he died. In a movie that contained James Spader, Scarlett Johansson, and Robert Downey Jr., you can't exactly rake the dude over the coals for falling by the wayside. Natalie Portman is a talented, versatile, and beloved actress. That much we can all agree on. That said, her MCU character Jane Foster is one of the MCU's greatest failures. Sure, she gives it the old college try in the first Thor movie, injecting Foster with a charm, intelligence, and excitement at the prospect of wormholes and other dimensions. But even then, her heart was clearly not in it. And by the time Thor: The Dark World rolled around, it was hard to deny that she had checked out. Jane just doesn't seem very connected to the world around her, let alone the developments happening within it, and the performance fades, especially in comparison to any of her other roles. You can't win them all, but if you're Natalie Portman, you can take comfort in your Oscar, and the fact that you're basically a superhero yourself. Believe it or not, there was a time when people laughed at the idea of a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. We're glad that time has passed, but it's still crazy to imagine that viewers have gotten behind a talking raccoon, a sentient tree, and a morally malleable, blue-skinned space nanny.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
Rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy went on to become a huge hit and a pillar of the modern MCU. But as much as we love Star-Lord and his merry band of misfits, we don't really care much for the movie's bad guy, Ronan the Accuser. It's no surprise why. He's exceptionally boring in a movie that is anything but. He's mad about space warfare that the audience has no real stake in, carries a giant hammer, wears dramatic eyeliner, and that's pretty much it. When he showed up again in Captain Marvel, Marvel made sure he was toting his hammer in every shot, lest we forget who he was. And who could blame us for doing so? If we remember Ronan for anything, it's for being beaten in a galactic dance-off. Look, we're not saying Ronan's yawn-inducing characterization is actor Lee Pace's fault. In fact, if Ronan's whole shtick is being single-mindedly lawful evil and super grouchy, then Pace has got this guy down pat. What we are saying is that pretty much anybody in the pantheon of Marvel baddies would have made a more interesting villain than this dude. Emil Blonsky is an elite soldier who becomes Abomination, the endpoint of the darkest path Bruce Banner could take. Nothing stops him from gobbling up power. He has no kindly girlfriend, noble attitude, or passion for science. He just wants to be bigger, better, and burlier. His fight against the Hulk is a spectacular one in which, as Banner goes on to sheepishly recall in the Avengers, they quote, "break Harlem." Cool, right? Banner versus a grim reflection of himself, power against the looming specter of corruption, two giant man-beasts fighting to the death. And yet, despite the memorable climax, Tim Roth as Blonsky simply fails to deliver. One wonders if, had the stars aligned to make this early effort more like the MCU we know now, all that potential could have been actualized the way the Hulk deserves. But it wasn't. Roth never got to the core of his conflict with Banner, nor the nature of his own evil. He's just a bad guy doing bad things for the sake of it. This gleeful, one-note evil can still lead to great cinema, but that is very much not the case in The Incredible Hulk. Roth does what he has to do and absolutely nothing more. Inhumans was a total flop, for which Serinda Swan can only be partially blamed. Nothing about it worked. The special effects were cartoonish when they weren't outright bizarre. The translation of the Inhumans' fantastical world from page to screen never rose above awkward, and even the best and most experienced members of the cast seemed ill-suited to their characters. It came and went without much of a fuss. Few were excited for it, few saw it, and few discuss it now that it's done and dusted. It was, to put it simply, a failure. So no, it's not entirely Swan's fault. But if there is one person who embodies the slow-motion implosion that was Inhumans, it is her. Part of it is her costuming. Her wig is atrocious on every level, from its oddly stiff motions to its Ronald McDonald shade of red. Some of it is the absurd situations the writers placed her in, but most of it is the maudlin melodrama she brings to her scenes. There is no amount of Inhumans that more perfectly symbolizes the project's sheer stupidity than watching Swan deliver a drawn-out, feral cat-in-the-alleyway yowl as her hair is shorn by the fiendish Maximus. It's meant to be a moment of cruelty, but it's straight-up hilarious to watch her crumble at the touch of a decidedly fantastic pair of electric clippers. Nothing can stop the Inhumans, apparently, except a hasty haircut. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.